AITA for admitting to my son that I never wanted to have a child? So, I saw a post here that reminded me of my situation, and it made me think to post. I have a 15-year-old son, Jakob. When I was 18, I married a classmate I was dating. We were stupid teenagers and I got pregnant. He really wanted to have a kid, so I was pressured into having Jakob even though I hated being pregnant and taking care of him. Our families were so disappointed that they demanded we give the baby up to somebody so that we can focus on our education. We didn't, and Jakob was about 6 months old when his dad died in a motorcycle crash. About a year after I gave Jakob up to my great-aunt, she legally adopted him, and my life got so much better. I finished up my education, and by the time I was 26, I became the manager at a club. When Jakob was 11, my great-aunt was diagnosed with an illness, and it was determined she could no longer care for him. So, as per her wishes, I took Jakob back and began working nights so that I could care for him even though I hate working nights. I have changed my entire schedule to accommodate for him. I never wanted to take somebody to basketball practice, drop off and pick up a bunch of kids in a carpool, or have noisy Xbox games played through my apartment. But I do now, and have sacrificed my entire existence for him. And here's the kicker. I actually started to enjoy it because Jakob was so great, and up until a year ago I was even thinking this was a nice way to live. And then something changed. He got rude. Starts throwing his backpack when he comes home. Will throw away the lunch I make him. Will swear, and he won't even hug me anymore. We had an argument yesterday because he started watching WWE real loud instead of doing his chores. And that woke me up way too early, and I got very upset when he said I wanted to give him away. Because I don't. I admitted that I never wanted to have him, but he's not some toy I can just toss away. But instead of thinking about what I said, he just started crying really badly, and this morning he wouldn't even get out of bed and go to school. He just won't stop hugging me and crying. I've called in sick for tonight, but I'm just wondering if I was wrong to handle it how I did. One of my friends said she would have divorced her husband if he said that to their son. Edit at 12:31 p.m. I get it. I accept the judgment of YTA. I'll just use this edit as one last time to make my point clear. I love my son and I do want him in my life. That is the point I was trying to make. YTA. As an adopted person, this was very difficult to read. There have been far less severe things said to me that still haunt me. And I'm 28. You should put him and yourself in therapy. But also understand that your relationship with your child may never recover from this. YTA. You said something life-changingly hurtful to a child. I was just talking to a 50-year-old today who was bawling her eyes out recalling being told those very words by her mother when she was 15. Your son will never forget what you said. Now go get him a good therapist and get yourself one too, and try to undo the damage you've done. Instead of thinking about what I said, he just started crying really badly. YTA, what was he supposed to think about? You say this like he should have had revelation and seen stuff from your point of view. No, all you did was leaving emotional scarring that will last a lifetime. YTA. He's a teenager with big feelings and hormones. His swearing and bag-tossing are normal teen things. When he was very vulnerable, decided to hurt him right at the core of his being. You confirmed his worst fears. He was never wanted by the people who created him. He's lost the woman who raised him. His father. You once. And now he feels he's lost you again. You are a massive awe for saying that, and I would recommend you get enrolled in personal therapy for both you and Jakob, as well as family counseling together. You can't unring this bell of the horrid things you said. But you can work on building a solid relationship with him. If he's willing. YTA. He didn't ask to be born, and what you just said to him will affect his self-esteem for the rest of his life. YTA. You just confirmed all of the horrible thoughts and assumptions he had made. This kid's life has just come crashing down around him, and it's all because of you. You may not have wanted to have a child, but he didn't choose to exist either. You've scarred this child beyond repair. Live with that. I'm so sorry you were pushed into a terrible situation. It probably would have been easier on you both if you had a private adoption and moved on. I understand what you were trying to say to the boy, but that's not how it came out. I think it would be beneficial to do some therapy for you both. YTA. I don't understand why parents say something like this to a child. Ever. My mother, adopted mother, biological aunt, told me she wanted to focus on her career, gardening and painting, and never wanted to have children. That she adopted me out of obligation to her sister, my birth mother. And because my dad wanted kids. I was 13 the first time she told me this. Notice I said first time. She has started saying so more and more now that I am grown at 32 and my sister is 40. It is extremely hurtful and vindictive to say so. I wish she just kept her mouth shut, because it's only deepened my feeling of otherness when it comes to family. If you didn't want kids, you should have stuck to your boundary. Or gone with adoption. But never ever said a single thing to your child. I get so angry when I see posts like this. If you don't want kid, here are so many payope out there who wouldn't have taken them for granted. And wanted and loved them unconditionally. By the way, on the contrary, my birth mom stayed in my life actively as an aunt and let me know however she could that she loved me. She put me up for adoption because she couldn't financially or emotionally support me at the time. But she always gave me support and love until she passed in 2016. YTA. You didn't just say you never wanted him. You also added that he's a burden now. Great job. Solid parenting. YTA. Look, I get that being a parent is difficult. Your son is a teenager. They aren't always fun. But this kid has been bounced around his entire life and it's obviously affected him. No matter how upsetting he's being, you don't need to put it out there that there was ever a time you didn't want him. When I was 23, my mom, during a friendly conversation, casually dropped that if she had to do it over again I wouldn't exist. She had me at 19, and I know it wasn't easy, but that comment was so hurtful that it still stings like 15 years later. YTA. The damage is done now. I don't know what to suggest. I really don't. I mean, I would have said, find out what's wrong that's making him so ornery and all. But it's a bit late for that. I think you have to tell him you only said that in anger and you didn't mean it. And try to rebuild the relationship. Good luck. YTA. Ready was a much better word than wanted. Bruh. YTA. This is a child with real emotions. Take a parenting class or something. YTA. You never, ever tell your kid you never wanted them. Your son will not ever forget this. He was already abandoned by you once. Now he knows he's one normal teenage tantrum away from you shoving him out on the streets. He was hugging you and crying BC. He thinks that if he doesn't, you'll just throw him away like trash. Don't expect him to stick around much longer after he turns 18. Edit. To everyone replying with how old they were when their parents said this to them. I am so sorry. You didn't deserve that. No child does. I can only wish the best for you and hope that you don't have to be in any more relationships where the other parties treat you as forced burdens. YTA. You literally told him he is an unwanted child and that the only reason you don't throw him away is because he is a person and you are legally responsible for him. How else should he have reacted? If my wife told that to our children, I would have taken them and left forever. I feel for you. But YTA. He's a kid. He has no responsibility for the situation you are in. As his mom, it's very emotionally scarring to say that to him at a young age. YTA, that's one of the worst things a parent can say to their child. And it's even worse that it's actually true. He knows that you didn't want him and wouldn't be his mom if you'd had a choice. And that's a horrible thing for a child to live with. Much worse that you just come out and say it to him. YTA. This will stick with your kid. I have an older sister, and once in an argument my mom told me she wished she had stopped at 1. I was unplanned, and she has admitted she was terrified of having a second but often calls me her bonus baby. And although she didn't mean it, and it was just heat of the moment when I was being an asshole teen saying what I'm sure was far worse than what she said to me, I've never forgotten it, and those words hurt me like no other. The difference between my mom and you, though, is you did mean it. And he knows that. YTA. Family counseling and single counseling for you both may help going forward to maintain a relationship. But as someone said, the damage you have dealt to him, intended or not, is going to affect him for life. He already experienced the feeling of abandonment by his great aunt raising him until she was too sick to. He only is back in your life because you had to take responsibility for your child. You make changes and sacrifices when you choose to bring a life into this world. I get you were young and not fully mature to handle the responsibility. But you are responsible for his emotional health, and by basically telling him he was never wanted is one of the worst things to say to your child, no matter his age. I was in my 30s when my mom and I had a conversation that changes to parenthood. I have had 3 pregnancy losses. And I told her a small part of me was glad I didn't have a child to take care of, as I didn't feel I was emotionally or mentally prepared for what that takes. She told me, at 35, that she had resented being a mother and having kids, even though she wouldn't change a thing because she loves me and my sister. But I learned our existence was a huge cause of her unhappiness and depression when we were young and growing up, and that explained the sort of distance I felt with her growing up. I was well into adulthood, and her honesty still hurt me at the core. I can't imagine hearing those words at 15. Get help for you and for him to take a healthy road to address these feelings you both have. Well, duh, YTA. How is this even a question?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.